I haven't slept in 72 hours, and I'm terrified of what will happen if I close my eyes. My name is Natalie. I'm supposed to be 28 years old, but according to my reflection, I'm somewhere around 48. And it's all because of what happens when I sleep. This nightmare started 3 weeks ago with what I thought was the best night's sleep of my life. I'd been pulling all-nighters for my master's thesis, surviving on coffee and pure anxiety for months. When I finally submitted it, I collapsed into bed at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, planning to sleep until Wednesday morning. I woke up Friday.
Not just Friday, I woke up 5 years into the future. My apartment was different. My furniture had been replaced. There were photos on my nightstand of me with people I'd never met, at places I'd never been. I was wearing pajamas I didn't own, and when I looked in the mirror, I was older. Not dramatically older, but definitely older. Fine lines around my eyes, slightly fuller face, hair that was longer and a different shade. I thought I was having a psychotic break. My phone showed dozens of missed calls from someone named Marcus, fiancé red heart. I didn't know any Marcus. But when I scrolled through my messages, there were months of conversations between us. Intimate conversations. Photos of us together. Screenshots of wedding venues we'd apparently toured. I called my sister Jenny in a panic. Nat, thank God you're finally answering. Marcus has been worried sick. You missed your dress fitting yesterday. Jenny, I don't know who Marcus is. I don't know what's happening. I went to sleep on Tuesday, and now it's Friday, and everything is different. Very funny. Look, I know you're nervous about the wedding, but disappearing for 2 days isn't like you. Where have you been? The wedding. According to my calendar, I was getting married in 6 weeks to a man I'd never met. But according to every photo, every message, every piece of evidence in my apartment, we'd been together for 3 years. Marcus came over that evening. He was handsome, kind, obviously loved me deeply. When he hugged me, it felt familiar in a way that made my skin crawl. My body recognized him even though my mind didn't. Baby, you've been acting so strange lately, he said, stroking my hair. Maybe we should postpone the wedding until you're feeling better. I wanted to scream that I'd never seen him before in my life, but something stopped me. The way he looked at me with such genuine concern. The way he knew exactly how I liked my coffee. The way he unconsciously adjusted the thermostat to 72 degrees, which was my preferred temperature. That night, I was too terrified to sleep. I sat in bed, staring at Marcus sleeping beside me, trying to understand how 5 years of my life could just vanish. But eventually, exhaustion won. I woke up in a hospital bed. The nurse who came and looked at me with surprise. Mrs. Patterson? You're awake. How are you feeling? Mrs. Patterson. I looked at my left hand. Wedding ring. What year is it? I whispered. 2029, honey. You've been in a coma for 2 weeks after the accident. Your husband has been here every day. Another 5 years had passed. I was 38 now, though the coma had kept my body from aging normally. Marcus appeared in the doorway, but he looked different. Older, more tired, with gray at his temples. The doctors said there might be some memory loss, he said gently, taking my hand. Do you remember the car accident? I didn't remember any car accident. I didn't remember the past 10 years of my life. But according to the medical chart at the foot of my bed, I was Natalie Patterson, 38, married to Marcus for 5 years, no children. The doctor explained that retrograde amnesia was common after severe brain trauma. They expected my memories to return gradually. Marcus showed me photo albums spanning a decade, our dating years, our wedding, vacations I couldn't remember taking, Christmases with families that felt like strangers. We've been trying to have a baby, Marcus told me quietly. 3 miscarriages in the past 2 years. The stress has been hard on both of us. You were driving to your therapist appointment when the accident happened. I spent a week in the hospital, learning about the life I'd apparently lived but couldn't remember. Then Marcus took me home, to a house I'd never seen, in a neighborhood I didn't recognize, filled with things that were supposedly mine but felt alien. That night, I was determined to stay awake. I had a theory forming, one so insane I didn't want to believe it. But I had to test it. I lasted until 4 a.m. before exhaustion forced my eyes closed. I woke up to someone shaking me gently. A young man I didn't recognize. Mom? Mom, wake up. Dad's been in an accident. Mom. I sat up so fast the room spun. I was in a different bedroom, in a different house. Through the window, I could see it was snowing, and the trees outside were mature in a way that suggested years had passed. The young man looked about 18, with Marcus's eyes and my nose. According to the photos scattered around this bedroom, his name was David, and he was my son. What year is it? I asked, though I dreaded the answer. 2034, Mom. Are you okay? You look confused. 15 years. I'd aged 15 years in 3 sleeps. According to my reflection, I was now 43, with silver threading through my hair and deeper lines around my eyes. David explained that Marcus had been in a motorcycle accident and was in surgery. We rushed to the hospital, where I met people who knew me intimately but whom I'd never seen before. Marcus's mother hugged me and called me daughter. My supposed best friend brought me coffee and reminded me about book club next Tuesday. Marcus survived the surgery, but he was different when he woke up. Quieter, more distant. The doctors said he'd suffered some personality changes from his brain injury. He looked at me like he was trying to remember who I was. I feel like I lost time, he told me one evening as we sat in the hospital. Like I went to sleep and woke up in someone else's life. The irony wasn't lost on me. I stayed awake for 6 days that time, surviving on caffeine and terror. But eventually, my body betrayed me again. This time, I woke up in a nursing home. The aide who helped me sit up looked surprised. Oh, Mrs. Patterson, you're having a lucid day. How wonderful. Your son David is coming to visit this afternoon. I looked at my hands. They were ancient, spotted with age, trembling slightly. The mirror showed me a woman in her late 70s, though according to my medical chart, I was supposed to be 53. 25 years had passed in my 4th sleep. David was middle-aged now, with children of his own who called me grandma. Marcus had died 5 years earlier, a heart attack, David explained gently, as if he'd told me this many times before. You have Alzheimer's, Mom, David said, holding my aged hands. You have good days and bad days. Today seems like a good day. Alzheimer's. The perfect cover for why I didn't remember the decades that had passed while I slept. But I wasn't losing my memory, I was losing time. I tried to explain to David what was happening, but he just nodded sadly and patted my hand. I know, Mom. It's confusing. But I'm here and I love you. That night, I was determined not to sleep ever again. I would stay awake until I died if necessary. But the nursing home had other plans. They gave me medication to help me rest. I fought it as long as I could, but the drugs were stronger than my will. I woke up in a cemetery. No, that's not right. I woke up standing in a cemetery, in front of a headstone that read Natalie Patterson, beloved wife and mother, 1996 to 2089. I'd skipped to the end of my own life.
But I wasn't dead. I was standing there, staring at my own grave, in a body that felt ancient but somehow still mine. Around me, the cemetery was overgrown, abandoned-looking. The city skyline in the distance was different, taller, with buildings I didn't recognize. I walked through the cemetery, reading dates on headstones. Most of the people buried here had died decades ago. The newest graves were from the 2070s. It was as if the world had moved beyond the need for this place. At the cemetery entrance, I found a plaque, Historic Oak Hill Cemetery, preserved as Cultural Heritage Site, established 1847. The streets outside were clean and strange. Cars moved silently, without drivers. People walked by wearing clothes that looked futuristic but comfortable. When I tried to speak to them, they looked through me like I wasn't there. I walked to where my house should have been, but the entire neighborhood had been replaced by a park. Beautiful, well-maintained, but completely different.
At the park's information center, I found displays about the area's history. There was a section about the residential district that used to exist here, complete with photos. I saw my house, my street, labeled as typical suburban development, early 21st century. I was a piece of history. I spent the day wandering this future world, trying to understand what had happened. Technology had advanced in ways that seemed almost magical. The air was cleaner, the city greener. People seemed healthier, happier. But I was a ghost in this world, a relic who didn't belong. As evening approached, exhaustion hit me again. I tried to fight it, but whatever force was pulling me through time was stronger than my will to resist. I woke up in my apartment. My original apartment, exactly as it had been 3 weeks ago. But something was different. There was a letter on my nightstand, written in handwriting I recognized as my own. Natalie, if you're reading this, you've completed the cycle. You now understand what your life could be, what it was meant to be, and what it will become if you make the right choices. You have lived an entire lifetime in your sleep, experienced love, loss, family, aging, and death. The question now is, what will you do with this knowledge? You are 28 years old. You have just submitted your master's thesis. You have your whole life ahead of you, but you also have the memories of having lived that entire life. Choose wisely. Future UPS Marcus works at the coffee shop on 5th Street. He's the one who always remembers you like extra foam. You'll know what to do. I looked in the mirror. I was young again, 28, exactly as I had been 3 weeks ago. But I remembered everything: the wedding, the accident, the coma, David's birth, Marcus's death, my own aging and decline. I had lived an entire lifetime in 4 sleeps. The knowledge was overwhelming. I knew how my life would unfold if I followed the same path. I knew the man I would marry, the child I would have, the struggles we would face. I knew that Marcus and I would be happy, but I also knew that our time together would be limited. I also knew that I had been given something impossible, a preview of my entire life, the chance to live it with full knowledge of what was coming. That was yesterday. I've been awake for 24 hours now, afraid to sleep because I don't know what happens next. Will I continue aging 5 years every time I close my eyes? Will I skip to the end again? Or will time move normally now that I've seen the full picture? But I can't stay awake forever, and I'm starting to think that's not the point anyway. This morning, I walked to the coffee shop on 5th Street. Marcus was there, exactly as I remembered him, but young, unaware of the future we might share. When I ordered my coffee, he added extra foam without being asked. "You look familiar," he said with a smile. "Have we met before?" "Not yet," I said, "but I have a feeling we will. I'm going to sleep tonight. Not because I'm not afraid, but because I've realized something. I was given the gift of living my entire life before choosing how to live it. I know which decisions will lead to happiness and which will lead to regret. I know that loving Marcus will hurt when I lose him, but I also know that the love will be worth the pain. I've lived through my whole life, and now I get to live it again, but better. If you're reading this and I age another 5 years tonight, know that I chose this. I chose love over fear, experience over safety, a full life over a cautious one. Some gifts come with a price, but that doesn't mean they're not worth accepting. I'm going to sleep now, and when I wake up, I'm going to start living the life I've already lived, but this time I'll do it right."
Time is the most precious thing we have, and somehow I've been given more of it than anyone deserves. I won't waste it again.